The Dutch Grand Prix has concluded, and there are so many things to talk about. Of course, we need to discuss Ferrari's double retirement, which impacts the negative situation the Scuderia is currently experiencing. First, Hamilton's mistake, then Kimi Antonelli's hit on the Leclerc that forced the Monegasque to retire. We also need to talk about Isaac Hadjar's podium, rookie this season, who is doing something truly remarkable and made a difference today by almost showing the experience of a seasoned driver, despite having no experience in Formula One. He started this season as a rookie with a retirement in Australia during the formation lap, with that cry in the race with Helmut Marko, who had already put him in difficulty by criticizing him, and now he has proven everyone wrong. Not only now, but throughout the season, he has disproved more people. We also need to talk about Lando Norris's withdrawal and how it changes the game in the World Championship. There is now a 34-point difference between Piastri and Norris, and this is due to the broken engine in the McLaren, a Mercedes engine. Let's discuss all these topics in detail. First, I remind you to leave a like, subscribe, and activate notifications so you don't miss any videos here on the channel. As always, I update you with all the news related to Formula One, specifically about Ferrari. Let me know in the comments how you saw this race and which topics excited you the most, both positively and negatively. That said, since there are really many topics to cover, let's first look at the standings with a brief recap, and then we'll go through each episode individually in chronological order, starting from the beginning of the race. Vittoria di Piastri. Piastri proved to be solid because with 3 restarts, with 3 safety car restarts, he always made a very good restart. It was the only moment when he could have been put in difficulty besides the start of the Grand Prix itself. And he still managed to maintain the lead, to stay out front, and that was the most important thing for him. He was solid, icy, and never allowed himself to be negatively involved, perhaps making some mistakes, but instead he remained fair and faithful to his path, to his course, if we want to say. This led him to achieve this crucial victory, because if Piastri wins the championship this year, well, he must definitely also owe it to this victory, which is one of the most important moments of this season. I'm telling you now because I'm sure earning so many points in the standings in a single race is a very, very good haul for Piastri compared to Norris, so we will definitely remember this race even at the end of the year. Verstappen in second place did his best with his car. He couldn't do more. He tried to challenge Norris by overtaking at the start and then sandwiching himself between the McLarens. Later, during various restarts, he tried to challenge the McLaren drivers. There was nothing more he could do. We'll discuss Hadjar's third place in detail after Isaac, but it's a fantastic podium, a great solid race for the French driver. 4th is Russell, 5th Albon, 6th Berman, 7th Stroll, 8th Alonso. Watch out for 7th Stroll and 8th Alonso. Attention to the Aston Martins, which scored full points with both cars. Nono Tsunoda, 10th including Haas, 6th Berman, a great comeback from the back, and 10th Ocon still in the point zone, followed by all the others. I also want to point out Antonelli, 16th, who received not only a 10-second penalty for the collision on lap 56 with Leclerc, but also a 5-second penalty for going too fast in the pit lane. So excessive speed in the pit lane on lap 62. Therefore, a total of 15 seconds for the collision penalty for Antonelli and also 10 seconds for the collision penalty for Sainz, who then served his penalty by stopping in the box. Having said that, let's analyze the start in detail and see the various situations that occurred at the start, from Verstappen's overtaking to Leclerc's overtaking, which also involved something remarkable. Then, of course, we'll look at Hamilton's retirement, and we also need to discuss Leclerc's retirement, Leclerc's overtaking of Russell, and Leclerc's retirement after being hit by Kimi. So here, the start goes well for Piastri. Norris never starts well, guys. We have to say it again. Norris gets passed at the start by Verstappen. This is a serious mistake that keeps happening. Norris can improve his starts, and he pays a lot for it because he loses position. At this moment, something was wrong. Norris couldn't afford to do such a thing, but it happened. Verstappen made a spectacular move on the outside, decided to pass Norris and almost passed Piastri as well. But see the difference, Norris gets passed on the outside and doesn't react. Piastri is indeed further ahead, but he defends himself from Max Leclerc. At this moment, Piastri deliberately widens his line to prevent Verstappen from passing, even though Verstappen had made a great start and was on the outside. And he keeps his position. Max is forced to widen, and in this case Norris almost regains the position, but here comes a spectacular move from the Dutchman. Let's move forward, let's look here. Wait, let's go a little further ahead. Here we reach the second corner, and then the third corner. Here, alongside Norris, he tries to maintain the position, and here we see Max with all the slides, and he said he loses it here, hits the wall. How does he hold it? How does this driver manage to hold it? And Max made a magic here, really something incredible in my opinion. Only a four-time world champion like him, a driver with so much experience and such a feel for the car. He manages to keep the car in these conditions with cold tires because at the start of the race, the tires were cold. With the car sliding all over, going off the racing line, really something crazy, and despite everything, he still maintains the position, meaning Norris. So, a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And here we also see Leclerc's overtakes. Here he is already positioned outside compared to Russell, who is inside, with Russell's trajectory being a bit too tight in this case. Maybe he followed, if you want, Hadjar, but in this case, Russell should have positioned himself more outside and made a mistake. And so Leclerc took advantage of it by crossing trajectories like this. Let's move on. Here we already see Leclerc set up outside. He thought it through, studied it. Guys, he thought, I'll go more outside, I have more grip, I have higher speed, and I can cross and make a magic move. Look how much further ahead Leclerc was compared to Russell here. And here you see that he already has the steering fully turned to make the crossing of trajectories. In fact, here Leclerc is also a bit more outside than the ideal trajectory. But he does it intentionally to gain even more speed and be able to cross. And here, pure madness, guys, pure madness. Leclerc made a sensational maneuver. Today, he gave a masterclass in overtaking from my point of view. Here he lined up alongside Russell, but had more speed exiting than Leclerc. And so he took an incredible position. Quite impressive, a big shout out to Leclerc for this start. And he once again shows us how in Formula 1, even a bit of inventiveness and creativity in overtaking can make a difference. Because it wasn't a standard line, no one had made that kind of overtaking up to that point in that way. And he managed to do it. I think he has this talent. Leclerc can see where others don't see spaces that he can occupy to make overtakes. I hope I explained myself, but he has something that allows him to see trajectories that others basically don't see. And this is a skill of Leclerc's that we've seen multiple times. I remember, for example, the overtakes at Monaco, the Rascasse, and also at Torrentino. He manages to perform crazy maneuvers, things others can't do. So this is a masterpiece by Charles. And gaining positions early on is crucial because then all the dirty air. And so it obviously affects the race pace, slows you down. Instead, it's about already being able to zinc yourself, let's say, passing a car in front of you, which is a Mercedes. You manage to have less dirty air, to have a better race. And those are the small differences that ultimately make the total difference in the race. Let's now look at Hamilton. On board with him, with the mistake he made, because we need to comment on it together. Hamilton's mistake, so he had started to rain a little. Hamilton was approaching Russell. Let's watch it together. You see that he goes a bit tighter on the entry, and then goes a bit too wide, in my opinion, in the turn. And here too, I want to discuss it with you. I think Hamilton made a mistake. Certainly, the fault here is Hamilton's because he made this mistake. But it seems normal to me that there is an external painted part of the track that all drivers then have to use. And as soon as it rains a little, it becomes unusable. And there's a risk that the driver will really make a mistake. Lewis's mistake, which was definitely hanging on the limit. A correction that unfortunately led him to crash into the wall. Here too, if the escape route had been a little different, he could have avoided the impact. The weekend started well for Lewis, and then ended badly, in this case, because of this mistake. First in qualifying, and then, in this case, the mistake made during the race. It's a shame for Lewis, because these are important points for Ferrari. Really a shame to see a Lewis in such difficulty, and we hope to find him stronger at Monza, on our home turf, and see him. And we also need to try to encourage him to do better, because he started this summer break with more motivation. But this weekend, this first weekend after the summer break, did not go well. So let's hope to find him stronger and further ahead. Now I want to discuss with you the situation of Leclerc. So, because in that case we saw an incident involving Hamilton, Leclerc had just stopped, and so he had to sacrifice a bit of the strategy. Because in that case, I'll show you the standings, Leclerc had to stop. He stopped earlier, putting on tires, so the others stopped later when there was the safety car due to Hamilton's incident. And so Leclerc took the position over Leclerc. This is to show you the standings again. And there, even Leclerc got angry. Obviously, he was unlucky. So Leclerc had to do the overtake on Leclerc again. Then Leclerc decided to pass Leclerc with a reckless move. And guys, let's be honest, if we ban overtakes like the one Leclerc did on Russell in Formula 1, motorsport wouldn't exist. I mean, in my opinion, motorsport doesn't really exist, because it's a classic overtaking maneuver in motorsport. A bit of body contact, a bit of going to exploit the curb, going to use the outside of the track. He didn't completely cut the corner, but he went to exploit side by side, and then he went to use the outside. Because obviously the corner is a chicane, so it involves right and left turns. So it's normal for a driver, if they attempt such an overtaking, to cut the corner a little, to go to exploit the curb a bit. But that's the essence of motorsport. Now let's watch it together, because I want to analyze it with you. And here, Leclerc started. Now let's see if it's visible in the video, but he started braking from very far back. And this is another skill of Leclerc, which reminds me, for example, of the move he made in 2023 in Las Vegas on Perez. That dive bomb, that furious braking. Leclerc manages to brake much later than the other drivers and not reveal where he will brake or where his trajectory will go. This is another skill of Charles that I want to emphasize today, which we have known for some time. Let's take a look here. He brakes very hard here, because he brakes very hard, slightly outside the ideal trajectory, but Charles's trajectory is better than Russell's. He also uses the curb, passing through this tiny space, and if he had touched the grass, he would have been in the stands, but he managed to slip in perfectly. He tightens his line here, as you can see, also slightly squeezing Russell to force him to go more on the inside curb, resulting in a worse trajectory towards the exit and thus slowing down more. And this allows Charlie to have a better line on the asphalt by closing him off. Let's see here, and it reminded me of this overtake, of course, the one Valentino Rossi did at Laguna Seca with Casey Stoner, which was crossing and then passing him on the gravel. Of course, the overtake is different. We're in Formula 1 this time, but it's beautiful to see Charles risking so much to make this move, and he did it at a decisive moment because the goal was also to catch up to Jarvis ahead. Russell tried several times to catch Jarvis, but couldn't succeed, so in this case, Leclerc said, "You know what? I'll go ahead, and then if I see the opportunity, I'll go and catch Jarvis," as they say. And here we see Leclerc exploiting the outside line, going off the track limits because he crosses the white line. But guys, we can't penalize an incident like this. It's not possible. Fortunately, the stewards didn't penalize him, and here he makes contact with Russell, who had somewhat slept on the job, honestly. Because at that moment, Russell was trying to close the outer trajectory more, in my opinion, on the previous corner, and he made a mistake and let Jar pass him. One of the most beautiful overtakes of the season, maybe even the most beautiful. It was difficult to execute the overtaking and also involved a lot of risk and courage that a clerk had to put into this maneuver. So really impressive, a fantastic overtake. Let me show you again the key moment when he slipped in. Here, it could have gone very badly for Jar too, because he took a huge risk going onto the gravel. He could have collided with Russell, damaged the car from the previous year, gone to the pits. He took a huge risk, but it gave us all an adrenaline rush, guys. These overtakes are the ones that excite us, make us love motorsport. So we cannot ban these overtakes, we cannot prohibit or penalize them. And this is also a reminder for the FIA for next year, and also, in general, the guidelines should be followed, but these overtakes cannot be banned. All the more so this year and in recent years, the drivers have had really large cars to manage in terms of size. If you don't allow such overtakes, we won't see beautiful overtakes on the track. Next year, with smaller cars, it will be easier to make this kind of overtaking, because you will have cars that are, let's say, more agile and smaller in size. So, with a shorter step, it also helps with agility in corners. This will be seen this year. Such overtakes are usually not seen, but next year we will see more of these, fortunately. Overtakes in corners that require driver skill and courage. So, let's not ban them. Sorry for this long parenthesis, but this particular overtake is phenomenal. The response Russell attempted afterward, which then failed in turn 1, where Leclerc defended himself, was also good. Perhaps it wasn't the best moment for Leclerc to pass again, because he could have easily overtaken with DRS afterward, but he took a risk, and that's what I liked so much about Charles. Now let's analyze the episode, another key incident, which is obviously Kimi Antonelli's hit on Charles Leclerc. We're on lap 53, and we see that Leclerc has been stopped in the pits. Let's provide some context. Leclerc was stopped in the pits, somewhat unwillingly, if we want to say, because Leclerc wanted to stay on track with the soft tires. The team saw that Kimi Antonelli had stopped to change to soft tires. As a precaution, Ferrari told Leclerc to stop so he would stay ahead with the soft tires and be sure to secure the position. Leclerc didn't want to. He said there was no need to stop and that he could finish the race with the hard tires. They still stop him anyway. Leclerc has a used soft tire, cold in this case. Kimi Antonelli has a new soft tire, warmer, because he's had it longer. And so Kimi arrives here at turn 3, sees the opportunity, and takes it. He goes inside Charles. You see here, a completely inside line. The problem is that this line Kimi took in this case creates a lot of understeer. He can't get alongside because he's significantly slower than the driver, who is more outside, like in this case Leclerc. Leclerc knows this, knows he's faster, knows that Kimi can't hold the position in this case, because at the apex they are more or less equal, but in terms of exit speed, Leclerc is clearly faster than Kimi. Kimi, I think, underestimated this a bit. He thought he was faster through the corner, so here he widens the line to try to stay ahead of Leclerc. Leclerc is still ahead, even in this case, heading towards the exit, because he has a higher speed. And so here we see Kimi's bump. Kimi could have easily not closed the overtaking, stayed inside, lost the position to Leclerc, and nothing would have happened. There would have been no contact. For this reason, in my opinion, the 10-second penalty to Kimi Antonelli was fair, because it was a penalty for a collision that Kimi could have avoided, and it ended up ruining Charles Leclerc's race. In this case, making dangerous contact, obviously dangerous for the FIA I mean, and so, of course, it's a youthful mistake by Kimi. These are mistakes that happen, and they are mistakes that we also need to somehow justify, from my point of view. I know it's hard to accept because it completely ruined Charles's race, and it's a heavy 0, not just for Leclerc, but for Ferrari. Because both drivers are retired, and these are mistakes that weigh heavily. Moreover, caused by an Italian driver, it hurts me even more to have to explain this incident here. I am friends with Kimi, so I am very close to him right now. He shouldn't be attacked. In my opinion, we need to stay calm. He is a young driver, just 19 years old. He needs experience, and he has a very strong teammate. Let's remember that Russell, in recent seasons, was competing equally with Hamilton, a 7-time world champion at Mercedes. Russell took the lead as the primary driver at Mercedes Russell, and Kimi has a lot to learn from Russell. Comparing Kimi to his teammate at this moment is wrong, because Russell has much more experience. Kimi needs this season to mature. He is making mistakes that Max Verstappen also made early in his career, and even a 4-time world champion has made these errors. And I remember Max was attacked by everyone at the beginning, even when he was in Red Bull, not just in Toro Rosso, even when he was in Red Bull. Even comparing him with Ricciardo, most people sided with Ricciardo, not with Max, when they were both in Red Bull. So even Kimi needs time to mature,